Welcome back to the Running Real Estate Podcast. I am excited today to have one of our seasoned agents join us, somebody who kind of got in at a very interesting time and has seen some evolution of the market over the last few years, and somebody that's actually a true Ocean City local. We don't get that every day. So I'm excited to introduce you to Dallas Godman.
And it's a pleasure to be here. Yeah, Dallas Godman with Atlantic Shores.
Yeah.
Thanks for sitting down finally.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's a long time coming.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, you're at this point, you're one of our most seasoned agents. So, before we got on here, we were just talking about dates. And so how long have you been with us now?
Yeah, so coming up, I believe it's 2 weeks away from a 4-year anniversary.
Yeah.
So but made it 4 years.
And that's great. And in the 4 years, were very interesting times in the real estate market. So that's a good accomplishment to be a brand new agent to make it, 4 years in this marketplace. But I wanted to kind of back up and, like I mentioned, you're a true Ocean City local. Maybe you can give us a little bit of your background, where you're from and
Yeah.
how you got here.
Yeah, so born and raised Ocean City. My parents migrated, I guess you could call it, from the Baltimore area in late 80s. So tried to find the only affordable basically housing and market for them to be able to live on a single income. So parents moved down here, like I said, Stephen Decatur, Ocean City, the whole way through. Seemed to always carry a primary residence here on the island.
Yeah.
Colleges, obviously, most people go away, go down south, go out west. I chose the local route. Salisbury University, UMES were pretty much my two choices there. So yeah, wound up going to UMES. Tourism and hospitality is just so synonymous with Ocean City.
Right.
So it seemed like the thing to do. Stayed local here. But yeah, definitely. I've noticed there's few and far between,
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. I mean, so many of us are come here, or come heres. We came from Baltimore, Washington, Central PA, other spots, and we all kind of ran away to the beach and ended up staying. But you actually being, a local, born and raised here. I mean, what was that like? I mean, as a kid, were you like up on the beach, up on the boardwalk a lot, running around town?
I was definitely a lot tanner than I am now. Definitely a beach baby through and through. I definitely liked found an appreciation for the duality, I guess, of Ocean City.
Mm-hmm.
In the summertime, it's completely 100 mile an hour. There's tons of things going on. It's obviously bright and sunny out. And then on the backhand of things, the winter time is quite the opposite.
Yeah.
It's you get back to that small town feel. You see the same clerks, you see the same people at the grocery store. So it seems to always be changing.
Right.
It's definitely the duality of it. I loved it. I wish these days I made it to the beach a little bit more often. But yeah, definitely a beach baby through and through. Yeah, definitely. This is home.
Right. Right. So just for some context, like when was that? When were you growing up? So like late 90s, early 2000s?
Yeah, late 90s. Yeah, born 94. So yeah, late 90s. And definitely even now I'm starting to get to the point where I can remember what buildings used to not be buildings.
Right.
Growing up, I would always hear, my parents and, the older people say Ocean City's not what it used to be. Ocean City's not what it used to be. And I think that's still true today. It's ever evolving. It's not like it was 20 years ago, not like it was 40 years ago, and definitely not like it was 80 years ago.
Right. So what, looking back on it, are there things that you think to yourself, man, it's not like it was when I was a kid? I remember this and that was better than it is now. Is there any like defining moments that are places that you went, are iconic buildings in town that you kind of think about that maybe aren't there anymore?
That's a good one. You hear the stories of the 65th Street Splash Mountain style amusement park that they had. I don't think I ever was quite able to make that. Even I guess now that I'm thinking about things like Phillips Crab House. Yeah, that I guess we're in the process of seeing what that finally shakes out to be. But yeah, definitely. Even my big thing has been like the Route 50, just driving in and out of Ocean City,
Yeah.
just West Ocean City, I guess Shantytown.
Yep. Yep.
I think that was maybe 2003 that went away. So brief, maybe childhood memories of that. But yeah, ever evolving, ever evolving.
Yeah, absolutely. And, perspective, I guess, was within the eye of beholder. Like, it's whatever your perspective was as a kid or, interesting time in your life as to what it was. And we have a tendency to kind of go back to that.
Hmm.
But I remember, like, yeah, you said Phillips Crab House, or like, there used to be the Sun Dancer surf shop right at the base of the Route, 50
Okay,
bridge
yeah.
coming in. That was,
Hmm.
which now I think is like a Sensations or something different. But yeah, so that's pretty cool. I mean, I will tell you, being a come here from central Pennsylvania originally, and we would get our couple weekends or maybe a week at the beach. We were like so envious of the people that could grow up here and live here and were able to experience it every
Yeah,
day. That's what we wanted, right?
absolutely.
Um, but now your perspective is probably a little bit different. It's like, the ocean's still there.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. A little bit of both. I find myself, when I do, I've been trying to, when I have time, see some of the other markets. We help clients out all the time that are looking not just in Ocean City, they're looking kind of up and down the East Coast, whether it be Myrtle Beach, Virginia Beach, New Jersey, even. So I've been trying to, kind of branch out and, just, visit more of those places. And every time I just think it's not quite like Ocean City.
Right.
So yeah, definitely.
It's good to know your competition, right?
Yeah,
Like
for
if you're
sure.
selling Ocean City, who are we competing against?
Absolutely, and that's kind of maybe what started it, when I first got into the business, realizing, wait, why are these people not choosing Ocean City? What could they possibly, be thinking of? But definitely.
Right. So, okay. Youth on the boardwalk, beach baby, going into kind of middle school, high school. Were you involved in any sports, any activities, anything that got you excited there?
A little bit of football in high school. I feel like I maybe practiced it more than I played it.
Yeah.
But it's definitely learning the work ethic.
Right.
Learning to mesh with people of different backgrounds and stuff like that.
Teamwork, right? You get some
Teamwork.
teamwork and everybody's got their
Hmm.
play and you got to do it
Yeah, and I
consistent.
guess now thinking about it as and with some of the high school sports, you can't work. So in the summertime, as a teenager, you want to get out there. You want to work. Ocean City, just it's more fun when you have a couple dollars for Thrasher's fries. When you're
Right.
15. So it was either do I commit to grinding, making a little bit of money, and or diving into the
Hmm.
sports aspect. So I tried to do a little bit of both, but it's hard to go all in,
Right, right. So it's a unique perspective. You know, I know from being, outside of the area and or traveling to other areas and with my kids doing sports that, maybe they're playing in Annapolis, and a lot of those Annapolis area kids, I feel like some of those other areas, like kids, teenagers, don't have quite the opportunities to work like we do here. I mean, as you
Mhm.
said, we go full throttle in the summer and there's 300,000 people here. We need people to work. So that gives, you growing up here probably an interesting perspective because there was like a need for you to work. Like there was jobs, plenty of jobs to get. So what were some of those jobs that you had early
Yeah,
on?
so the hospitality industry, whether it be working in the kitchen, work in front of the house, bussing tables, washing dishes, waiting tables.
Right.
Yeah, went to college for exactly that, tourism and hospitality management. Again, just so synonymous with Ocean City. Growing up here, I feel like it's so dominated by exactly hotels, restaurants, and besides retail, I feel like real estate is pretty much the only other large, I guess, industry that dominates here. You're not going to get a lot of your stereotypical jobs, your city jobs necessarily aren't going to be available here on the Eastern Shore. Um,
Right.
yeah.
So you graduate from Stephen Decatur, you go to Princess Anne and University of Maryland Eastern Shore, right? UMES. You graduate there, hospitality. Right when you graduated, just to kind of put together the timeline, what
Mm-hmm.
was that next job right after graduation?
Yeah, so there wasn't, an immediate um an immediate change of pace or change of life, after I wound up, securing my full-time degree. The program that I was in, was heavily geared towards, transplanting to a major city. And, a lot of my friends were moving to DC, to Baltimore, Philly, going down to Florida, to a metropolitan area,
Mhm.
basically was the antithesis of it. And I just didn't really think that that was, what I wanted to do. I feel like, especially as a younger kid, maybe these days we're just trained to go right into the next step.
Mhm.
So I definitely felt that, securing my college degree, I definitely wanted to do. Took it, a relatively broad business aspect of it. Um, but yeah, no immediate jump out. I didn't fly out. I just continued working here. And then I guess that's probably around when COVID started to happen, and that's when I kind of thought, what's the next step?
Right.
What's, the ceiling for the hospitality industry isn't necessarily through the sky. So while it's a good floor, yeah, just thinking about the next step, and what kind of led me here.
Okay. So you graduate, then you were actually a server, right? So that
Mm,
when I tie this in, so many people locally here, a lot of us, including myself and a number of the rest of us on the team here, started in the restaurant business, like
mm,
whether it's bartending or being a server. Because I think that really actually is a good lead into real estate. Like you've got to go to the table and you got like it's like speed dating. Like you got to sell your services kind of
for
quick that
sure,
they
for sure.
like you because you're trying to get tips, right? You're working for tips. But I mean, is that kind of what you did? Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's definitely accurate. When I first was going through the coursework and first actually wound up getting my license and starting, I was 100% full in waiting tables, doing the day in, the day out, basically, to pay the bills, put the food on the table. But yes, once I started getting into once I, dove in more so, a lot of the skills exactly are transferable. At the end of the day, people are coming to you with a need, whether you're in a restaurant and the person's hungry, or someone needs a roof over their head, or someone's at the point in life where, they need to downsize or they need to upsize or just ready to make an investment. So it's about helping someone make an educated decision and
Mhm.
hopefully benefiting, if benefiting along with everyone else, of course, if all works out.
Right, right. So when you decided COVID came into play and you're thinking, all right, maybe, as a manager of a restaurant or a GM or in the hotel business, maybe it's not exactly, the hours you want to work or the income might not be quite as what you wanted. And so you started looking at other possibilities. When you decided in real estate, did you go get your real estate license online? Did you go locally to a class? Like how did you do that part?
Yeah, so I think I had planned to go locally, go in person, and get that done. And I think I missed the class cutoff date. And I was like, you know what? I'm not waiting any longer. So that's luckily everything is pretty much can be done electronically online. So I started diving into the licensure and put some feelers out and wound up aligning myself here.
Right, right.
Mhm.
And so let's go back to that time. So that was 2022.
Yes.
Okay, so 4 years ago, 2022, you joined us at a unique time. We were talking about this a little bit too before we got on camera, but you came in, and the way our company was structured at the time, Stephen was running. So Stephen, who's one of our agents here, was kind of running a lot of the team meetings and acting as a mentor. Um, what do you remember from those days? Like what was it like being a brand new agent, and what was the market like? Well,
Yeah, so it was a lot of new, obviously. You start anything, any new, adventure you go on, there's going to be bumps and things you didn't expect. So I don't know, not that I necessarily expected things to move quickly, for me when I started, but I noticed a lot of uneasiness, whether it be with fellow agents, people I'm speaking to, um, personal relationships that I have with people that are in, the lending, the inspection, the title, industries, a lot of uneasiness. definitely, I guess the market was coming off of the highs
Right.
of the COVID time, things turning over quickly. And yeah, I remember one of those first interactions. Yeah, when Stephen was managing, was just basically breaking down that the market's going to change. Something that I really do like about real estate is that while it's always changing, it typically doesn't flip, on a dime too often. So there's usually indicators that, can point out when the market's going to change, when the cycle's going to finish up. Um, so yeah, there was a lot to process up front. There was a lot of uneasiness, and I just, decided basically to put my head down, learn. Um, Real estate, there's so much to learn in this business.
Right.
I think it's quite impossible to know it all. So that kind of intrigued me too in the beginning. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, didn't really know what I was, in store for, on board for. But yeah, definitely put your head down, keep working, keep learning.
Right.
It's definitely what I learned early.
Yeah. So I mean, just to give our clients and listeners some perspective, I mean, we went like 2020. Obviously, the this time 2020, the spring was the thick of the COVID, shutdown, lockdown, no sales, or most people thought no sales were happening. There were some sales happening, but very few. And then we coming out the other end of that, like June, July of 2020, things went gangbusters. I mean, like the prices shot up, transactions shot up, people were doing whatever they could to secure property. 2021 was definitely the peak of all that. I mean, multiple offers. There'd be properties that would come on the market and have 10 offers, 14 offers, 15 offers right out of the gate. And so probably as you were getting your license and going through the classes in the spring of 2022, the market was still kind of like that.
Absolutely.
And then you join us in March, right? And you're hearing probably some of the agents saying, "Oh my God, it's crazy! I have multiple offers, all this stuff." And then like June of that year, I think you said May. I for whatever reason in my mind always think June. Regardless, that 2022 spring, end of spring, early summer, interest rates started going up, right?
For sure. Yeah, pretty much doubled, that everyone was getting their 3%. And then all of a sudden it's 5, it's 6, where's it going?
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely a lot of rate conscientiousness early on.
Yeah. So
Definitely.
what did that do? What happened when the rates started going up?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, people slowed down, they pulled back, they froze. Definitely transactions obviously numerically went down from, I believe it was 6 million to 4 million, and we've been at that 4 million, and this is nationally speaking.
Right.
But we've been at that level ever since. It definitely, not the brick wall analogy, but hitting the brakes hard definitely is what it seemed that the market did. But luckily for me, I didn't really have any expectations, or I didn't experience the speed, the velocity of the COVID market. So to me, it was just business as usual.
Right. Which is a unique perspective to have. I mean, because that's actually probably pretty good, that you didn't have to go through all that and then feel like you hit a wall. It's just kind of, it was what it was. And I think to this day, I don't want to jump too far ahead too quick, but to this day, I think that's one thing that you do really well is you can't control the market, but you just keep your head down and you do the work, right? You show up every single day and you do the work.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely relationships in this business, I feel like uh, translate way better than a particular transaction would. So the value is in the relationship. It's in helping that person out. Yeah, building it up over time.
Right. Right. And so let's talk about some of those early transactions for you. So you got in, you got licensed, the market's changing, it's in flux, but you're out there, you're getting opportunities, you're getting leads, you're doing open houses, you're meeting folks, and then you get to the point where you start to get some transactions going. What was that experience like?
It was a lot. I guess the first couple, you're definitely nervous, and you're definitely you know eh, not necessarily worried, but you're conscientious that you're helping people make what's most likely going to be their largest financial decision in their life. The assets are people's homes are typically their greatest asset.
Hmm.
So definitely the weight of that, and yeah, just putting the pieces together. There's so many different parts of a real estate transaction that don't always necessarily apply. My first couple of deals, for example, were condos, here in
Hmm.
Ocean City. And that was right along the time of Maryland passing, their HB 107, their reserve study legislation. So right off the jump for me, it was I was learning everything, but I was also learning a new iteration that
Yeah.
we're adding into the contract. So definitely a lot of learning, little bit of nervousness. But luckily, if you surround yourself, with the right tools and systems, definitely able to lean on the office a lot, in the beginning. Yeah, just getting clarity for our clients to move forward.
Right. As you're speaking there, you made me think of something that's pretty interesting. But um, a lot of what you have experienced is how do I say this? You're 4 years in, right? But in those 4 years, the market's been fluid. Like, it's always changing, but there's been some big changes, and you've experienced things that some people who've been in this business for 30 years, 25 years, like myself, 50 years, you've experienced things that not even them or they have experienced, right? When the market changes
Sure.
like that, it's like, well, nobody's been through this before, so we're all going to figure it out. So it kind of actually probably put you on a level playing field with a lot of people who maybe they have a lot of experience, but they never experienced a market like that. They never had House Bill 107, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. And again, I feel like Maryland, I believe it's every October, comes out with just very little, small changes to the contract. So exactly, if you've been in the business, or I'm coming up on 5 years now, but 10, 15, 20, yeah, a lot can change.
Yeah,
Hopefully there's not going to be any crazy monumental new ways we do business, and um, but I'm sure there will be eventually,
right,
and we'll move with those.
right. Yeah, so you kind of get into a routine, and first year you're learning, second year you're learning. From what I think and I can recall, is every year you're bettering yourself. You're learning more, but you're helping more clients, right?
Hmm.
You're evolving your career, your business a little bit to maybe picking up some more listings.
For sure.
Tell me about that evolution a little bit. I mean, where are you at today? What how was 2025, and what do you see on the horizon for 26?
Yeah, so 2025 was good. I think, yeah, numerically I probably closed my most transactions. Definitely just meeting more people. I feel like, yeah, this business, the timetables can be so long. You might speak to someone 1 year and they're in the dreaming phase, where they've been coming down here vacationing for years, but they're in no way, shape, or form even close to buying.
Hmm.
And then 2, 3 years later, you're able to cultivate, that relationship, help give them, nuggets of information that, help them feel more comfortable moving forward. But yeah, now 2026 has been definitely a lot more listing based. Maybe as a newer agent, I'm not sure if we're just drawn to, representing buyers more often. Typically they say, when someone's looking to buy a house, they want the house. They don't really care about the agent that's helping, as opposed to when someone's selling their house, they want to identify the very best agent, to maximize their equity, and make it an easy transition. So definitely the listing side has been fun. Definitely getting more exposure on that. Um, and yeah, just people coming back, getting the phone calls, hearing the success stories of my people, and what they were able to do. So yeah, definitely all around just bolstering up.
Right, right. So 2026 so far out of the gates, I would imagine you're probably pacing to have a year even bigger than what you had last year. I would anticipate.
Yeah, so I have done, yeah, I think, yeah, 6 transactions so far this year. So I'm definitely on pace to do well this year.
Right.
But again, something that I've seemed to learn is that consistency. Putting together, 4 quarters of solid business. that's the goal, or that's the way to, achieve the goals.
Hmm.
So far this year, definitely, I feel like it was geopolitically maybe a little bit calmer, in the beginning.
Right.
So definitely a lot of business out the gates. But this is the time of year where we got the most activity going on with the springtime. Um, so yeah, looking forward to making this one better than last year.
Right. Right. So if you could choose an area of the business you like the most, what would that be? Where do you feel you're I'm not saying you're better at one end or the other, but
Mhm.
where do you think your traits or your expertise really allows you to shine? What part of the business do you like the best?
Yeah, so I guess maybe two answers. So what I personally honestly like the best are helping out, the first time buyers, the people who are not extremely, literate as far as real estate goes. The it sounds cheesy, but yeah, the value of helping that person, treating others, the way you want to be treated. That's probably my favorite transaction.
Right.
But honestly, I feel like what I'm best suited for is exactly, a condominium, whether it be in Ocean City or, in Delaware now.
Yeah.
I realize I have so much innate knowledge that I've just gathered, 30 years here. To where, yeah, definitely, I feel like that's where I'm probably most useful, to my client is, a complicated, um, multi-layered,
Yeah.
a cookie cutter single family home, in Wycomico County somewhere, is definitely nothing like, a non-warrantable condo, with HB 107 looming behind it. So definitely, I guess twofold there.
Yeah. So let's go there. Let's talk about that a little bit. I mean, you get a call, and these folks want to buy their first Ocean City condo, right? They want to buy a beach place. What does that process usually look like when they work with you? Like from beginning initial conversation to kind of throughout the process and then the close. Like,
Yeah, yeah. So initially, I luckily, have the opportunity to live here in town. So typically, if I have someone reach out to me, my first opportunity is to try to just sit down with them. Ideally, if they would like to come into the office, just sit down and me talk about their goals.
mhm.
Wanting, just wanting to purchase a property isn't always enough to do it. You need to. I've learned you need to be educated in order to be confident enough to make the right decision on the right unit. So first off, I'm just more than happy always to take some time with someone, let them come into the office, chat through the market and what opportunities we have. And then from there, yeah, getting into these places, there's so many nuances to these buildings. There are yeah, just every association seems to be run a tiny little bit different. There's pockets in Ocean City that are way different than the pocket right next to it.
Mhm.
So definitely helping people get eyes on things. You can always look online; everything looks beautiful in a photo, but to feel, smell, and see a place with your own eyes. And then however long it takes, there's times where it can be 3 or 4 properties and, the client, is able to make an informed decision and move forward, and then there's other times where it's just not gonna happen. And so, yeah, just staying connected with people, staying willing, to lend a ear, I feel like, is what I always try to do.
Right.
Um, but yeah, definitely. Once you go under contract, hopefully there shouldn't be many things to come out of the woodwork from there. Luckily, there's once you have enough, I guess, experience going through home inspections, once you have seen enough reserve studies, once you've gone through, yeah, the trials enough, you can help to troubleshoot, plan for the unexpected while
Mhm.
while not obsessing over the unexpected.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. As they're under contract, you mentioned House Bill 107. What do our people need to know about that? What is that? Maybe you can elaborate on that a little bit more.
Yeah, so in essence, yeah, Maryland passed this legislation back in 23 that attempts to have all these, specifically the condominiums, you'll see it referenced to most, but HOAs, any really common element association. It basically makes them or requires them to have a reserve study done, updated, and on file every 3 to 5 years. I've noticed there's a couple maybe different iterations and levels to that reserve study, but in essence, they all operate the same. You get someone to, an engineer or an equivalent to come out, forecast expenses 30 to 40 years into the future, basically just making sure there's no deferred maintenance on these units, making sure there's no safety issues, and ultimately helps to, protect the public, helps to keep property values up, helps keep buildings insurable,
Hmm.
things of that nature. So definitely a valuable asset, and definitely important to check off, during the process.
Right. So that's something that your buyers or a buyer gets an opportunity to review while they're under contract.
Yeah, absolutely. In a perfect situation, you're able to do a vast majority of that due diligence up front, to whereas you don't need to rely on, a contractual, protection to, save you in that event.
Right.
Luckily, a lot of these buildings, I feel like probably upwards of 90% are absolutely compliant nowadays. Um, but every once in a while, you'll still come across a unit or a building that isn't quite up to par administratively, I guess you could call it. So yeah, you definitely have that protection, but again, it's how much can you figure out up front? Because sometimes you can use that, in negotiations,
Yeah.
and sometimes you might know things that maybe not everyone knows. So definitely staying up to date with these buildings is definitely huge.
Yeah. And I think of a couple things, with you, Dallas, is growing up here, you had a chance to go past all these buildings, right? Like you were in town running around. You saw, like, from a perspective of seeing them every day. But then where you're at today, we talked about like where you started and where you've gotten to. I will say that out of everybody on the team, you study the market, you study the process probably more than anybody. Right. And now I see that coming out. I see that coming out in our team meetings. Like when questions come up, you're able to answer those. I see it with your clients. Like
Mm,
your clients are in really good hands because you have taken it upon yourself to gain so much knowledge of the process in general, but then being boots on the ground and focusing here in Ocean City. You know the buildings that ahead of time might have an issue, right? You've studied it. You can, so when a client comes to you, they can feel they can rest assured that you're going to be able to guide them most of the time, 99% of the time, of if there's an issue with one of these buildings.
absolutely. Yeah, and I don't know how how common it is, for other agents, but I definitely see myself as, people come to me, exactly, they choose me. There's at least, I think it's 1,500 of us agents just in the Coastal Association. So there's lots of choices. There's lots of
Right.
choices for realtors, lenders, everything in the world. So I try not to take it for granted. And I see that if I can invest in myself, that I can be, an asset to these people. So yeah, I like getting into the nitty gritty, knowing the contracts, knowing the language, and everything in between, knowing just enough about the auxiliary services,
Right.
knowing enough about the lending, knowing enough about, what a home inspector might look for, what a title company or an attorney might flag. Um, just yeah, not pointing out red flags, but being able to, future pace the clients, just basically to put them in the best position possible.
Right. Right. Yeah. No, you've done a fantastic job with that. There are so many moving parts in a real estate transaction, and I know, like, you're becoming the true definition of a knowledge broker. Right. This industry, there's 1,500 people, 1,500 agents in the Coastal Association of Realtors. But there's very few that put the time and work in it that you do. I mean, honestly, if you drive past our office here on 76th Street, you're going to see Dallas's car here every day. I mean, you're here every day. You come into the office, you work your plan, you do the work, you study, and it's evident, in your results and in how you can educate the clients and truly be a knowledge broker. So I think you're doing fantastic.
I appreciate that. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
You got to keep that up. So when you're not doing real estate, right, and you say you don't get to the beach as much, you're not as tan as you once were. What do you like to do when you're not in this world of real estate?
Yeah, so I've been harping on it, recently. At least I feel like with gratitudes and whatnot. But enjoying the outside, trying to enjoy, Ocean City for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Driving over the 90 bridge or driving over Route 50. Sometimes you get tunnel vision.
Right.
So definitely, yeah, spent a lot of work in the garden lately now, getting tomatoes ready to go into the dirt. Yeah, I don't have any kids. I adopted a cat about a year ago, so I
That's good.
guess I do have some,
Responsibility.
yeah, I have some sort of responsibility there.
Yeah.
But yeah, trying to spend a little bit of time with family and friends. Like you said, I'm in the office pretty consistently, so
Right.
trying to take some time, force some time off. In real estate, you don't always get control of your time, but you'll get random opportunities where you can take a couple hours
Yeah.
off. You might sneak a day off in every once in a while on a Thursday, when no one's looking. But yeah, trying to get outside more, trying to get a little bit of traveling in.
Yep.
Like I said, it can double over as, some recon as to
Market research.
Yeah, why are
right?
these people, not choosing Ocean City?
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely just trying to soak it all in.
Good. Good. Well, you're doing a great job, and we are proud to have you be a part of the Atlantic Shore Sotheby's International Realty team. And like I said, your leadership is definitely shining through. Your contribution to team meetings and to the other agents. I know they've got questions from time to time, and they're coming to you. So I appreciate you doing what you're doing. So keep it up.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah. So for our clients and anybody that is thinking about buying, thinking about selling, and wants to work with Dallas, what's the best way to reach you?
Yeah. Cell phone, email, pigeon mail.
Right.
You know where the office is. Yeah.
Smoke signals. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Definitely 443-397-4389. But yeah, definitely. I'm always around. Just drive by the office here and you can,
there you go. Knock on the door. Right?
Knock on the door.
The South office. You're going to be the one that answers the door. Well, that's great. I once again, Dallas, I really appreciate it. I love seeing your growth and your evolution. And I know there's more great things to come. And I'm sure market changes that we're going to, that we don't even see coming yet. But all right. Well, thanks again.
Sure.
Until next time, everybody, if you like this information, please share it with a friend. Look up Dallas, give him a buzz. And we'll see you next time on the Running Real Estate Podcast.